All of us gamers who play any form of fighting game have one thing in common. We like getting up close and personal to see the fear in our opponent's eyes when we gut them like a fish, and we like talking about our favorite weapons in said games. I'm a big melee head in Warhammer like any good space marine. I want to bathe in the blood of my enemies. But not every weapon is made for every occasion. I mean, they literally have this slider right here that tell you their situationalism. So the question remains, what does a slider mean? Well, some of you can deduce what it is. It's basically telling you if a melee weapon is better for swarms or single target. But before I talk about all the weapons and everything, there is something very crucial I need to explain first, which is the difference between the blocking, balanced, and fencing stat in the new versions of the weapons in Operations Mode. For those of you who haven't played Operations Mode yet, the weapons can be upgraded in a certain pass that will boost certain stats or change the style of that weapon, which is what we'll be talking about right now. Blocking is completely crippling for new players, and I would rather you never use it until you're a higher level player, because what it takes away is perfect parry. Perfect parry is a key part of the game, and it's something that you should never take away until someone actually understands the game fully. Now, for losing out one of the key gameplay mechanics, you do get a big boost in terms of just raw stats, so if you want to be a fucking troll with a big ass stick, go for it. But my recommendation to newer players is to stick with the balanced or fencing weapons. While I'm talking to the newer players, you don't only have to parry at the blue flashes, you can parry anytime you want. It doesn't matter, you can parry anything. The only things you can't parry are ranged attacks and red flashes. So for newer players, I would watch the movements and the animations rather than focus on the blue flashes. Anyway, back on topic, the balanced won't change anything, and the fencing will increase your parry window in exchange for less stats. In short, if you want to feel like a stat stick, go for blocking. If you want to be able to carry around a sword that's wider than my cock somehow, go for fencing. And if you want to go to the store and see all the different options for ice cream but still choose vanilla, go grab the balanced weapons. But now that I've given you a general overview of all of the weapons and how they work and stuff like that, I'm going to go over each one individually, talking about their combos and stuff and how best to utilize them, and then I'll give you tips later on about each individual one that's personally from me. Found in the kits of the Vanguard and the Sniper is the combat knife, which is the de facto dueling weapon of the game. The combat of this weapon is focused on picking out one of the biggest guys on the battlefield, running at him like a fucking freight train, and carving your name into his guts. Your combos are more focused on quick stabs and strikes, but with heavy single target damage, you lose out on a lot of the AoE from every other melee weapon. So it's best used when you have a teammate who can cover for your weaknesses like a heavy or an assault, or when you carry a weapon that can help you deal with the swarms like a Melta or a plasma pistol. It's all around a great weapon, and it was my favorite to use in the campaign up until my second playthrough, where I found my favorite in the form of... The chainsword is easily my favorite. This is a beautiful piece of bread and butter of the Imperium, can be found on every class besides heavy, and it's the most balanced weapon in the game. It makes me feel like I only eat white rice for dinner. There's not a lot you can say about this weapon other than just it's balanced and good, because it is just the stock weapon. You know, it's the stock weapon that every character has other than heavy. All I can really say is it has a really strong combo for dealing with swarms and has a really strong combo for dealing with big boys. You can't fuck up by having this in your kit. It's good in almost every occasion. Now let's say that you do like the chainsword, but you want to have a little more skill expression. You want more combos. You want to have something that makes the game a little more spicy. Well, let me introduce you to the power sword. Only being found on the Bulwark, it has the unique ability to be able to change styles in combat, being the speed and the power style, which adds extra layers to your combat. The power style is more focused on dealing with swarms and big powerful swings, while the speed style is more focused on fast, longer reaching swings. A very strong and powerful melee weapon that is weakened by how much downtime you need to switch modes, because if you don't stand completely still or try to do it too early, you're going to just attack again. But I would say that the power sword has the highest form of skill expression, but it lacks the consistency of all the other weapons. But maybe you don't care about skill expression. Maybe you just want to hit shit really fucking hard. Smash the ground and turn all the enemies around you to ash. Well, let me introduce you to the Power Hammer. The Power Hammer is a simple man's weapon. You hit shit and you hit shit hard. The combo reflects how simple it is with only 4 total abilities for it. But you don't need no fancy combos for this thing, especially if you're using it how it's intended. You strap yourself with a jump pack and play Leapfrog from Bug to Heretic, hitting each vile beast like a truck in the process. But for all its strength, it's pretty bad for dueling. Even if you combine it with the jump pack, you'll still be struggling to take out that big enemy, which makes sense because the weapon's specifically designed for AoE crowd control, not to be the best in the game. But hey, maybe you don't want to get hammered. Maybe you just want to fist your enemies.
What?
The Power Fist is the bridge between a combo weapon like the combat knife and the AoE potential of the power hammer. Although it is only available on Assaulted Bulwark, and with the trade-offs of being the middle ground between a combo weapon and an AoE weapon, it's a good bridge between the two. It feels a lot like the chainsword in a way where it's just so simple and it's such a good all-rounder that it's really hard to say anything. Like, it's really good at its specific job. That's it. I mean, its unique ability is very interesting, where it can make it so you're immune to being knocked back, which is very strong if you're trying to do your combos. But also, since it airs more on the AoE side of things, sometimes it feels like you're hitting a big enemy with a wet noodle. This last one isn't even a melee weapon, but the Heavy does not come with one, so I'll talk about his big ass gun that he beats shit over the head with instead. It's something that almost every Heavy player is going to have to deal with because you need to conserve your ammo in even the easiest of modes, let alone something like Ruthless or Lethal. But not to say that this doesn't have some upsides, because if you beat something over the head with a big ass gun, 9 times out of 10 they're gonna go fucking flying. Which lines all the swarm enemies up for a headshot execution, which gives you your armor back, which is very useful to know. And that is every melee weapon in the game with a brief description of what it is and how it works. At least for the time being, because they might add more in the future, like this sick power axe we saw from secret levels. But before you go, let me share a few tidbits and secrets from my time playing. First of all, the combat knife is something that is highly situational. It's really good, but if you get surrounded by a swarm, you're honestly better off pulling out a bolt pistol to kill it off, so be careful when you pick it, or you'll be picking your boogers on the death screen. The chainsword is an all-around very good weapon, and I did touch on it, but something I want to reiterate is that combos are very important. It's something that you should study up on with any weapon you use, but especially the chainsword, because they have very specific combos for dealing with swarms and dealing with bigger enemies. The power sword is a very strong, albeit very situational weapon. You have to adapt to the situation by actively switching gears, meaning you'll have to be ready to do hit and run tactics or fall back into your team so they can cover you while you switch modes. The hammer just all around stinks for single target combat. You're still a space marine hitting something with a big fucking hammer, but if you don't use the jump pack to hop onto them, you're looking at an extended fight. Meaning that you're taking a whole lot of time to kill this motherfucker, and that means there's a whole lot of time for something else to dogpile on you and beat your shit in. The hammer is a crowd control tool, so I would say use it for the big groups of small enemies, and try to jump into the big groups of big enemies, and then get the fuck out of dodge when you get all their aggros. And that's about all I have. I mean, there is the power fist, but the only tip I have for that is go out there and fist those enemies. Hey fellas, you know the drill, like call to action, all that. I hope you guys subscribe or like or comment or anything. And if you didn't like the video, dislike and leave a comment saying that you just didn't like the video. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. The Power Ford is a Power Ford? The Power Ford F-150 can drive on any road you can imagine. The Ford F-150 has good mud flaps, got all-wheel drive, and it's got a grill that can handle about 16 children being ran over until it has to stop. Don't be a pussy. Buy a Ford.